Assalamu alaikum dear students, welcome to a new lecture of mine. Today we are going to discuss a new writer related to English literature, and today's new writer is William Wordsworth. Right? We are going to discuss William Wordsworth's philosophy of nature, or in other words, we are going to discuss Wordsworth as a poet of nature. Right? William Wordsworth is said to be the poet of nature, and as a poet of nature, William Wordsworth presented his own philosophy of nature in the world of his poetry. Right? There are numerous aspects of Wordsworth's philosophy of nature that he discusses, that he incorporates in the world of English poetry, and this is our topic of discussion for today. We are going to discuss different aspects of Wordsworth as a poet of nature, or Wordsworth's philosophy of nature. And as you all know that William Wordsworth is called as a worshipper of nature, a high priest of nature, in the sense that he glorified nature in the world of his English poetry. He worshipped nature in the world of his English poetry. Right? If you minus nature from his poetry, you minus everything from his poetry. His poetry would be nothing without the subject matter, without the topic of, without the theme of nature. So nature is everything for William Wordsworth. Right? William Wordsworth takes each and everything from nature in his poetry. Any type of poetry, whether it is Wordsworth poetry or whether it is the poetry of any other poet in English literature, it is based upon three major aspects. Number one is character, number two is themes, number three is settings or backgrounds. Right? And all these three aspects of William Wordsworth's poetry is taken from nature. Its characters are taken from nature, its themes are taken from nature, its settings and places and backgrounds are taken from nature. So nature is the main subject matter, the main topic, the main idea, the main tenet of the world of the poetry of William Wordsworth. Right? So nature for William Wordsworth is everything, which is why he is said to be the most original poet in the entire range of English literature. The most original poet of nature in the entire range of English literature. Why? Because the way he included, the way he discussed nature in the world of his English poetry, no other poet did so. So nature is, it is everything in his poetry. Right? Which is why he is called the high priest of nature, high priest of English nature, in the sense that he worshipped nature. He adored nature, he glorified nature in the world of English poetry. So today our topic is related to Wordsworth as a poet of nature, or Wordsworth's philosophy of nature. That what Wordsworth thinks of nature in the world of English poetry, how he treats nature in the world of English poetry. This is what we are going to discuss in today's lecture. Right? So this is introduction to the topic, Wordsworth as a poet of nature. Now we are going to discuss different aspects of William Wordsworth as a poet of nature, or William Wordsworth's philosophy of nature. First important aspect of Wordsworth's philosophy of nature is his attitude towards nature. Right? It is said that at different stages of his life, William Wordsworth adopted a different type of attitude. Right? At a young age, he adopted a different type of attitude towards nature. as a boy he adopted, or as a youth he adopted a different attitude towards nature. As a mature person he adopted a different attitude towards nature, and as an old man he adopted an altogether different type of attitude towards nature. And all these attitudes or stages of attitude towards nature are included by William Wordsworth, discussed by William Wordsworth in the world of his English poetry. First important stage of his attitude towards nature is related to his childhood, right? As a child, William Wordsworth sensualizes nature. As a child, William Wordsworth, in other words, enjoyed nature through his five senses. He saw beautiful scenes in nature, he saw different shapes in nature, he saw different colors in nature, and enjoyed nature through his sense of seeing. And he heard different types of musics in nature, different types of sounds in nature, and enjoy them through the sense of hearing. Then he enjoyed nature through a sense of taste as well. For example, he tasted water in nature. He drank water from rivers and waterfalls. He tasted various types of fruits from nature and enjoyed nature in this way through a sense of taste. Then he also enjoyed nature through a sense of smell. He smelled different types of fragrances, different types of smells in nature, and enjoyed nature through his sense of smell. Then he enjoyed nature through his sense of touch. He touched cold things, hot things, smooth things, rough things, right? Delicate things, hard things in nature, and felt and enjoyed nature through his sense of touch. And in this way, William Wordsworth sensualized nature. From sense, we have the word sensualize. So he sensualized nature through his five senses. Why he sensualized nature at this stage as a child? Because a child doesn't have the ability to think. He only has his senses to enjoy the world around him. So as a child, William Wordsworth enjoyed nature around him through his senses, because his mental capabilities, his mental abilities, they were not sharpened enough. They were not sharp enough to enjoy nature through his intellect. So in this way, he enjoyed nature through his five senses as a child. Next important stage of Wordsworth's attitude towards nature is intellectualization of nature as a youth. When William Wordsworth grows into a youth from his childhood, he adopts an altogether different type of attitude towards nature. As a youth, he starts enjoying nature through his five senses. Even at this stage, he does enjoy nature through his five senses, but his five senses are used by him as a ladder that take him into the world of intellectualism. Right? When he, as a youth, enjoys nature through his five senses, then while enjoying nature through his five senses, he thinks over the objects of nature. He intellectualizes nature. And when he intellectualizes nature, right, then he enjoys nature through his intellect, through his brain, through his mind. Right? For example, as a youth, he thinks over the flower, a beautiful flower, an ordinary most beautiful flower, and thinks that there is a God, there is the reflection of God in a minor sort of a flower, in a meanest flower, right? Wordsworth, in one of the famous lines, he himself says that he can see the face of God in a meanest flower, in an ordinary most flower. So why he sees the face of God? Because he intellectualizes nature. He thought over nature. He thought that how beautiful is the flower, how beautiful are its color, how beautiful is its shape. If flower is so beautiful, if this creation is so beautiful, what would be the condition of the creator who created this beautiful creation in the form of the flower? In this way, he intellectualizes nature at this stage. Next important stage of his attitude towards nature is his love of nature for its own sake. In the third stage, William Wordsworth loves nature, not the enjoyment of nature through his five senses, not the enjoyment of nature through his intellect, but rather he at this stage enjoys nature for its own sake. He loves nature for its own sake, not for its colors, not for its sounds, not for its external beauty, not for anything else. For its own sake. He loves nature for the sake of nature. Right? So this is the next important stage of his attitude towards nature. Right? And then this stage, third stage, leads to the fourth stage of his love of nature. Right? At the fourth stage, which comes at the old age of William Wordsworth. At an old age, William Wordsworth adopts an attitude of spirituality towards nature. In other words, as an old man, William Wordsworth spiritualizes nature. Right? He enjoys nature from a spiritual angle. Right? He sees, for example, he sees a bigger soul running through all the objects of nature, uniting them into a single whole. He sees the reflection of its creator, the reflection of God in nature, the reflection of, the creator of all the objects of nature. He sees that, and he sees this at the last stage of his attitude towards nature, where he spiritualizes nature. Right? When he spiritualizes nature, then at this stage of spiritualization of nature, he comes to know, he discovers various hidden aspects of nature. Right? That are also the aspects of Wordsworth's philosophy of nature, his philosophy of nature. What are the aspects that William Wordsworth come to know at this last stage of his attitude towards nature, which is spiritualization of nature? What are those aspects that he discovered at this last stage? These aspects are, at this stage, William Wordsworth discovers that nature is a mother to man. This is the first aspect that he discovers. Second is nature as a healer. Third is nature as a guide. Right? All these are the aspects of nature, or all these are the aspects of his philosophy of nature, which he discovers at the last stage of his attitude towards nature, which is spiritualization of nature. At the last stage, William Wordsworth feels that nature's position is like that of mother. Right? Very much like mother, it loves man. It is affectionate towards man. It is kind towards man. It nurtures man. It brings up man like its own kid. Right? Like its own child. Right? So he believes that man should expose himself to the influence of nature, right? Because Mother Nature influences man in such a way that it shapes and forms the personality of man in a correct manner, in a better manner. So this is one such aspect that he discovers at the last stage of his attitude towards nature, which is spiritualization of nature. The next important thing that he discovers at the last stage of his attitude towards nature is nature as a healer, or nature as a doctor, as a physician for man. William Wordsworth at the last stage discovers that nature can act as a doctor, as a healer, as a physician of man. Right? It can cure the psychological, the spiritual, the mental and the emotional wounds and injuries and scars of man. For example, William Wordsworth believes that if a person feels sad, aggrieved, then he should go into nature, let himself be influenced by nature, then automatically his grief, his tension, his worry, his sadness, his sorrow will be removed. Right? So this is why he says that nature can act as a healer, it can act as a doctor, it can act as a physician of man. Nature can act in a positive manner towards man. So this is another important aspect that William Wordsworth discovers at the last stage of his attitude towards nature, which is spiritualization of nature. Then the next important aspect of nature that William Wordsworth discovers at the last stage of his attitude towards nature is nature as a guide. William Wordsworth believes that nature can act as a guide and as a mentor of mankind. But there is a condition to it as well. He says that if man is willing, is willing to be guided by nature, then nature guides him. Right? It guides him towards the basic truths of life, towards the basic realities related to life, to live a better life. Right? Nature can guide him towards a happy life, towards a wiser life, towards a more perfect life than he is living at the moment without the guidance of nature. Right? This is the belief of William Wordsworth, that nature can act as an instructor of you, as a teacher of you, as a guide of you. It can teach you many lessons, many instructions that can really help you to improve your life, that can really help you to develop the wisdom related to live a better life. For example, while talking about nature as a teacher and a guide, in one of the famous lines, some of the famous lines of his poetry, William Wordsworth says, "One impulse from vernal wood," I quote, "one impulse from vernal wood may teach you more of man, of moral evil and of good than all the sages can." That a single meaningful indication, sign, instruction, right? A wave of wisdom, a sign of wisdom from nature, a single sign of wisdom from nature can teach you such lessons that you can't learn from the lectures of hundreds of sages, hundreds of wise people. That you can learn more from nature, from the single wiser indication from nature, sign from nature, than from the lectures of hundreds of wisest of the sages on the planet Earth, found among human beings. So this is what he believes in nature, that nature is a teacher and a guide, and it can teach you in the principles of wisdom to live a better life. So this is the last but not the least aspect of Wordsworth's philosophy of nature, which is nature as a teacher and a guide. I hope you have understood each and everything. This is it for today. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.